So we are recording. I remembered, yay. So welcome everyone. Today we'll be speaking with Jennifer Tamborski. She's the CEO and Chief Strategist at Virtual Marketing Experts. But before we welcome Jennifer officially, I want to remind everyone of a few logistical details. The call is being recorded. You'll receive a link to the recording tomorrow on Friday. Please mute yourself on your end so as to avoid any background noise. Please find your chat button on your screen. Most people, if you run your mouse over the lower part, or sometimes it's at the upper top of your screen, you'll see a little thought bubble with 3 little dots. If you want to ask a question, click on that little thought bubble and your question will pop up on our screens. We promise to end the call around 12:15 at the latest, and you can get back to the business of the day. So Jennifer, welcome. Let's see, for some reason, to unmute you. I'm sorry.
That's quite all right. Thanks for having me.
We really want to hear what you have to say. So Virtual Marketing Experts is the name of your company.
Correct.
Specialize in working with clients on course launches and sales funnels. We get a lot of questions about that. Jennifer and her team take clients' ideas from concept stage through execution. Sometimes the idea is just, or the project is just simply an idea in one of your clients' heads.
Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome. So I'm going to jump right in here real quick. Course development. Let's kind of throw some questions out about that. How do I know that if I've been thinking about additional ways or trying to come up with new ways to monetize my intellectual property, why is developing a course a good idea?
Because realistically, 90% of people are online nowadays. And developing a course allows them to deep dive into your work. So for instance, if you've created a book, sometimes people read the book and they don't necessarily implement whatever it is you're trying to teach them in that book. And a course allows you to give them that implementation tools to work them through the process. So by the end of the course, which would be the end of your book sometimes, they are actually doing what it is that you are trying to teach them to do.
So do I need to already have developed content, or where do we start if someone comes to you?
You absolutely do not need to have developed content yet. That is a process that we can work with you through. You do need to have an idea, right? And you need, I always suggest that our clients have done a little bit of market research to validate the idea, to make sure that this idea is something that is going to be marketable and saleable within whatever community it is that you are targeting.
So how do I know, and I love those 2 words, how do I know if my idea is marketable and is saleable, and can you help me figure that out?
I can help you figure that out. So the top way that people really do research is Google, right? That's the easiest thing to do. So if you type in the first part of whatever your idea is, say it's mindset. So we'll say you type in mindset and then 4, and Google will tell you by filling in those last couple of words.
Right.
Of what ones are the hot commodities. What are people searching for? What are they interested in? So you can get that information directly through them. You can also do what they call the ask method. So if you've already got people that you are communicating with that are your ideal client, you can simply ask them. You can do surveys. You can do simple things like a Facebook Live video that says, hey, I have this great idea. This is my idea. Would you be interested? Comment below. And then you can kind of get a feel of who's interested in that product.
So have you learned, or I'll back up because I've got questions are just bouncing. So have you watched someone through this process? What type, you don't have to tell us exactly the specifics, but what type of business was it? And how did you learn to become, or what made you the expert that you are today in this particular topic?
Right. So yes, I have walked clients through this before, and we're in the process of walking clients through it now. The topics are generally what we specialize in are coaching and consulting services. So life coaches, business coaches, those kind of things that have something to teach people. The latest one that I did recently was a 12-week course. Someone had developed a book that was it's more of a life mindset kind of book on how to develop a blueprint for your life. And we took the chapters that she had already written. She has a fantastic book, and we implemented it into a 12-week course. So the book was, 300 some odd pages, and we took the content from that book and we broke it down into, digestible pieces for her audience, and then created videos and, created a whole course for that. At that point, it comes to marketing, right? You have to then start marketing your business and your course. And if you already have an audience, fantastic. And if you don't, then we start developing your audience.
So is there a magic number for, because you mentioned that particular person had 12 modules or 12 weeks to their course. Have you seen anything that says, X number of weeks is too long, X number of weeks is too short? Is there a magic number that you've seen?
There's not. It all depends on your target audience, right? Your ideal client and what would work in their life. I've worked with people who have had 6 weeks. I'm working with someone now who's developing several mini courses. So they're 3 video series. And he's just kind of build them out in that respect. So it does not, it's what your audience can consume and how long, and also how long it takes you to teach it. Like there are some things that take a long time to teach. Now, I would say more than about 6 months, and you're looking at people, like that's a long commitment.
Right.
So you want to keep the commitment for people a little shorter. If the 6-month module is in bite-sized sections that you can break it down so that like in month 1, they're doing this section and that kind of thing. But you want to keep it to where it's digestible. If people have to commit a year or 2, they're less likely to be able to sell that.
We just don't have that attention span anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it sounds as if these are user-driven so that I can work at my own pace, or the consumer, whoever's buying into it, can work at their own pace, right?
Often they are. You want your course to be user-driven because you want the people consuming it to want to consume it. If it is something that your ideal client, if they can only commit, if your own ideal client can only commit 3 weeks, then maybe you break your course down into several different courses. So intro course, medium, middle course, end of the course. So they can do small chunks.
Now, do you ever have, because I've taken some of these over the years, does anyone perhaps have modules and then insert like check-in phone conversations or check-in?
Sure, that's an option.
Interact with that person so that you're not losing them out into the, cyberspace and never interact with them again.
Yeah, that's definitely an option. Often we'll use things like groups. So when you build a course, that's kind of an on-demand kind of function. And then a lot of times we'll do a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group or a group outside of social media, because there are other platforms you can use to interact with them. So maybe you do a mastermind session at certain points during the course, or maybe you hop on there once a week or whatever and just answer their questions. Like, okay, what questions do you have, kind of thing. So yeah, that is definitely an option. And there are clients that I've had that have done that, and others that just give up the course and to the people and let them do with it what they will.
So tell me a little bit about what is it, and I get this question all the time about what we do. So tell me the difference between when someone comes and says, well, I can go over here and do this all by myself. Why do I need you? What's the difference between someone trying to create their own course versus working with you, perhaps?
The reality is, so I had this conversation actually with my business coach the other day about expertise. And there's been a book written, Outliers, that says it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert at something. 10,000 hours is about 5 years if you're working 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
So the reality is most of the people that come to me are an expert in what they do. Whatever it is they do, that's their expertise. And the question then becomes, do you want to devote that amount of time in order to become an expert in an area that's not your passion? Instead, you focus on your passion and you become the expert in that area and let somebody else who is an expert in what they do that.
Right. Well, and one of the things that I'm going to bet is that the end result, when you create an online course, if I were to create an online course, and that's something I do want to talk with you about it another time, but it's, I want to be sure that once people get into it, they're going to stick with it and stay with it, and it will offer value, and they won't just say, well, I'm not getting anything out of this. That was a waste of my money, a waste of my time.
Yes, absolutely.
And my guess is that you add things and elements into it and have learned how to make it more user-friendly and more engaged by the consumer.
Exactly. And it also comes down to technologies. I mean, a lot of people that are an expert in, let's say, life coaching may not be an expert in the technology. And putting together a course or a marketing strategy or implementing those things takes a lot of time. And if it's something that you're not familiar with, I had a client come to me actually yesterday that she decided to build her own landing page. And I said, out of curiosity, how long did this take you? And she's like, a couple of hours. And I'm like, okay, a couple hours and then another hour of my time to walk you through what you did wrong.
Yeah.
So that's where, where is your time better served? Is it, better served serving your clients or even deep diving farther into your area of expertise? Or do you really want to learn that technology to put it all together?
So I know you also, and you kind of mentioned it a second ago with the word landing page, two words, landing page. I know you also get involved in that sales funnel. So
absolutely.
Talk to us a little bit about, because I know from having worked with writers who write landing pages versus trying to write one myself, there's a formula, there's a good way to do it and a not so good way to do it.
Right.
How does having that landing page tie in with the courses that we've been talking about? Talk a little bit about how that fits together.
Right. So the landing page and the sales funnel is the start of selling your course. It's marketing your course. So yes, there is definitely a formula that goes along with writing a landing page. And there's marketing copy, because there's things that we would say as marketers that the average person may not say when they're writing the copy. The copy has to be engaging and interesting and really call to the person, to your ideal client, to what they need and how you're going to help them. So that's usually the start of your sales funnel. And then it moves into, depending on how we set up the launch of your course, a product launch, which is usually, these are like long things, but we're going to condense this really short. So it's like 3 video series that gives them a problem and then how to solve small points that how to solve it, that end up with the 4th video that says, okay, you take all of these things and my course will solve all of these problems for you, and here's the course. So there's, those steps that go along with it, and then there's email sequences that continue to engage your audience. That's the real point, right? You're engaging your audience. You're showing them that you know what you're talking about, that you are the expert. You understand whatever issue or frustration they have, and you can help them solve it.
So one of the questions that I get asked a lot also is, do you help them with pricing? So I'm building this course, how do I get my money back from investing it in working with someone like you who can help me do it right? And then how do I get my return on my money?
Right. And I do help with pricing. So one of the things we do is sit down with people and come up with a whole plan. So we dive into their competition, if they have any price points that are standard in the industry that they're in for these type of course. It all depends on the length and breadth of the course itself. So we can help them with that. Return on the investment really comes into us making the sales or the course and the sales funnel selling at the end. And so sometimes a course is $97 because it's, 2-3 video series course, but you're leading them into something else that's a higher price down the road. And so you're just trying, at that point, you're trying to make back your marketing dollars. Sometimes the course you launch is anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000, sometimes more. It just depends on what your course is, what it's teaching them, and the value that you are providing to your clients.
So you've mentioned several different elements, one of which was video. So do you actually help them? Do you record the video for them?
I do not record the video. I do help them with either writing. We can either write the copy for the video or giving them an outline that they should follow while they're doing the video. I don't do videos. We can do video editing, but we do not do video production. So I can connect them with experts in videos.
Do that. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of times people shoot their videos just like we're doing, right? Just using Zoom or Camtasia or sometimes their phone, just different things because a lot of our phones have better quality cameras.
And I'm guessing you'll also give pointers if they are doing it themselves, the best, lighting and things like that.
Exactly. Yeah, we can give them some ideas, suggestions on lighting, on making sure that you're backlit, that it's not shining at your face, but it's not like directly behind your face and making you dark. So yeah, we do give them suggestions on those kind of things, but our primary function comes into really the messaging and making sure they have the messaging drilled down so that their ideal client can hear what they're saying.
Now, do you also set up, so on their website, they need a way to sell this?
Yes.
And so you'll help them set that up?
All of that is done within the sales or within the course development process. So it can start anywhere from having a conversation with someone and talking to them. I've done this recently with, just she's got an idea and I'm like, ooh, let's, it could do this and it could do that. And, and then giving her suggestions on how to get some feedback before she dives into like really developing a course. And then we work through the whole process so that at the end, when you're done working with us, you have a working course, a sales funnel, and marketing is can all be within that. Some of our clients come to us with just this. Some of our clients come to us with just that. And we're happy to meet them where they are and to help them get to where they need to be.
So if you're working with someone on the entire process, and let's just say it's a 3-element course, whether they do it in 3 days or 3 weeks, whatever the consumer decides. And then at some point, do you also build in almost like a cycle to where, okay, we did a launch of this program in September, but we're going to come back and we're going to do that again in November.
Yes. So we absolutely have that conversation with them. And it is all up to the client. There are courses that you don't necessarily have to launch repeatedly. Maybe your course, someone can come into your course at any point. When you're talking about like timed course launches, like you do it in February and then you do another one in September or something like that. Usually those also include some kind of one-on-one interaction. So you can't have people join the course in the middle because they'll be lost in whatever extra you're teaching them. However, there are courses that I've developed that anybody can start at any time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, up to that. So those don't necessarily need like timed launches where we go in, 2 times a year or whatever. Sometimes we just set those and, let them run.
Awesome. So how long does it typically take? So if someone comes to you and says, I want this 3 element as a beginner, saying, I want to try this, I'm going to see if it's really going to work for me. How much time should I put on my calendar to say, for developing that length of a program?
So there's a standard length of time that it takes to launch a course. Now, that being said, it does vary depending on the time, the amount amount of work that we need to do. However, you're usually looking at 3 to 4 months is the length of time that we need to build it out. If it's a 3-module course, it may be a lot shorter than that. But when you're looking at something that's like 10, 12 modules long, it can be, 3 to 4 months. I actually do have a lead magnet that I'm putting it in the chat. This is what I call the failure to launch timeline. So it literally gives you like all of the steps, and you can put in your date that you want to launch. Say you want to launch on September 1st, and it'll backfill all of those due dates that you have to complete these things by these times in order to hit that due date.
That's awesome. And so within that, the link that you just set up, is that typical for, I guess what I'm trying to say, is it content driven, so that if I have a lot of content, it may be longer. If I have less content, it may not be as long?
Correct. Yeah, it's all going to be dependent on the amount of content and the breadth of the course itself.
So if let's just hypothetically say you've helped someone develop a course, if they come back to you and say, it's just not working, I'm not sure what's not clicking, how do you go back and dissect and look for perhaps a way to help that? Or do you have a sample?
So there's,
you can share?
Yeah, so there's always, that kind of comes into all of those analytic data, right? That's all of that back end numbers. How many people are landing on your page? How many people have clicked through? How many people are connecting? What does that demographic look like? Like there's all of those bits and pieces of the analytics. And while we're launching a course, we definitely keep those things in mind and keep monitoring them. There are times when we think we have it dialed in and we send it out there and realize that it needs some adjustment here or there. And that's okay too. Like realistically, as long as the product that you're sending out is quality, making adjustments as you go along, depends on your market, right? Like there's, you may have, so if you come to me and say, my ideal client is a woman who's 25 and working at McDonald's, those are the people that we design it for. And then you realize later that actually the people who loved the course was a woman who was 40 and a CEO of a company. We're going to need to make some tweaks and adjustments later on that. So it all just depends on the information you bring us and what we can do with it.
Sounds good. So let's talk a little bit more about the sales funnel process.
Yeah.
So if someone comes, so I guess one aside here is just remind everybody that we do have that chat box. If you have a question, please be sure and put your questions in that chat box and we'll get to them. And then secondly, with regards to sales funnels, first let's go all the way back and tell me your best definition of what is a sales funnel.
This is my favorite thing. So I look at sales funnels like dating, right? So we all know how dating goes, right? You are introduced to somebody, you start communicating with them, maybe you go out for coffee, you like them, maybe you go out to dinner, all leading up to that eventual commitment. So if you look at the sales funnel, it's really the same process. It's a way of building a communication line with your ideal client and beginning to communicate with them in a way that is easy and relaxed and really gets them to know, like, and trust you, all for the end being that sale, that commitment. And a sales funnel process can be long or short. It depends on, realistically, the price of your product at the end. So if the more expensive your product, the longer your funnel is going to be. The less expensive your product, the shorter your funnel can be, because people are willing to invest faster for a lower price point.
So we also work with a lot of life coaches and therapists and service providers and people who are, and as I tell all of our clients, because we work primarily on the publishing side now, it's not about how well your book sells, it's how well your book sells you. And so
Correct.
Every step that we take is just leading someone into a direction of a better relationship with our client or the client.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the idea there being, each of those clients will perhaps have, as you mentioned, different target audiences. And so am I hearing correctly that you're able to help them identify not only who their target audience is, but the best way to have a conversation with them?
And that's exactly what we specialize in when it comes to sales funnels, is really deep diving into who your target market is, who you say you are, versus, and if you have the analytics to back it up, fantastic. If you don't, then we may be testing. You say they are 25 and female, and we test that and it doesn't work. And so we find out that it's actually a 35-year-old male. Like, we just, some of that is testing. It all depends on, how much information you have about that ideal client. But then we customize the sales funnel to talk to that person. Because we all know, if you talk to everybody, you're really talking to nobody. So when you talk to one person and that person is, a 25-year-old female who's a mom of a newborn, or whatever, that, that person, what her frustrations are, what's upsetting her, what she's scared of, all of those things that you're able to help her with, and you're able to talk right to her.
Now, I know some of our clients, you mentioned the word analytics. I'm sure that's going to just fly over some of their heads. It usually will fly over mine too. So is that something you can help them with? And tell us,
yes.
Why do I need analytics and what are they?
Okay, so analytics are the numbers in the back end of either your website or your Facebook social media presence. Those are all the numbers that tell us all of the information about your clients, how old they are, the gender, what they like to do, where they like to hang out, what they like to buy, sometimes even how much they're buying, depending on, some of the Facebook information. So that's what's considered analytics. It's really numbers, and it shows us, 100 people have landed on this page, and out of 100 people, 5 were this, 10 were this, 25 were this, and it breaks it down into information that we can then turn around and use to market to them.
And so you can help them learn to read, or read for them what all those numbers mean and what they need to be.
Exactly. Doing. Yeah, generally, we explain the numbers to people in a way that they will understand. So I can give them the numbers, but a lot of times, people don't necessarily understand what they're looking at. Right. So we talk to them in a way that makes those numbers make sense.
Gotcha. So out of the arenas that you play in, the playgrounds that you get to go have fun in, what's the most... Which one thing do you get the most requests for? Is it the online courses, or is it the sales funnel, or a combination thereof?
It's a combination thereof. A lot of people come to me with an idea, and then we because not everybody wants to do a course. Some of them have a service that they're providing, and maybe they only want to sell that service. They don't want to build a course. And so then we build a sales funnel that drives traffic to that service. There are those that come to us that want a course. They want to remove themselves from the day-to-day coaching or consulting, therapy kind of aspects, and they want to, have more freedom in their day. So we do that. So it really depends on the clients. Like I said, my ideal client is really that coach or consultant, or course developer who's tired of playing small and are ready to go to that next level. They want to grow their business and make it to that next level.
Can you share, and again, you don't have to give a lot of details, but can you share a success story, someone that you've worked with and everything lined up, all of your course suggestions, your course guidelines, the sales funnel? Tell us about the outcome of that type of that level of success.
One of my recent clients actually came to us for a sales funnel, not a course. She's doing one-on-one coaching. We developed the funnel with her, and then we've been running her Facebook ads. And she's already at, I believe it was in April, she had already hit 6 figures for the year.
Wow, that's awesome.
So,
was that just from her online course?
It was from her service, from her coaching service. Yes, it was solely from her coaching service, but it was because of the funnel that we built and developed and the Facebook ads that we've run for her. So she was able to, hit 6 figures in 4 months.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So it can be done. We're still tweaking her sales funnel and her Facebook ads to, try and get more and more reach. Marketing is not one of the things I want to caution everybody with is marketing is not like a bullet, right? It's not something you aim and shoot and it's done. It is more of a wide range, multi-level connection to your audience. And it does involve changing and tweaking as you grow as a business owner, as your business grows and develops and changes. And so it's not something that necessarily is just kind of, okay, I ran Facebook ads and I made $1 million. Right. That doesn't really happen.
If only, yeah.
Right. So, nor is it a build it and they will come model.
Right. So I've heard you mention social media more than once. Is that also one of your areas of expertise? And how do you work with people on social media?
It is. So we specialize in Facebook and LinkedIn ads. And primarily we develop the strategy and the ads and run the ads in the back end of those platforms to target the audience, to lead them into a sales funnel. Because again, build it and they will come doesn't really happen. So building a sales funnel isn't useful if nobody knows it's there. Building a course isn't useful if nobody knows it's there. You can't assume just because you built it, they're going to find it. You actually have to drive traffic to it.
So you're using the social media as the way to drive traffic to their website, whether it's for their course or for whatever other services they may be offering. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, we're driving traffic to a landing page where hopefully we're going to capture somebody's email address, because email address is still the golden ticket. Here's the reality. Facebook and LinkedIn are owned by Facebook and LinkedIn. So every contact you have on Facebook and LinkedIn don't actually belong to you. They belong to them. And so if those platforms ever shut down or you are for some reason removed from the platform, you lose all of those contacts. The best way to create an audience is really to capture their email so that you can connect with them outside of just those platforms.
Gotcha. So is there we gave a really good example of a sales funnel success story. Is there something you could share? I've just learned over the years that our audience likes stories. So it's something you could, it's kind of like we're hearing about other people, but we really don't know their names. But it's still fun, especially if they're successful. So can you tell us perhaps a success story about one of your online course success?
Sure. I have a client who recently, I actually she came with the book. She's the one that I was telling you about that developed a 12-week course out of her 300 and some odd page book. And so it took us a couple of months to build her course because it was extensive. You know, 12 weeks is a lot of material and information. And she has been able to sell that course for $5,000 a piece. So that 12-week course is now, it's actually $4,997, I believe,
Yeah.
so just under that $5,000 mark. And she's able to use that course as not only a platform to create income, but also a platform to move people on into this bigger mastermind program that she has developed. That's, you know, the next step up. So they go through the course, and when they're done with the course, they're invited into this other program that she is developing that is quite, it's a larger commitment.
Right, right. So in one of the words, and hopefully it comes back in my brain here real quick. I hate when that happens. You've talked about, so if someone were to come to you and say, I'm ready, this was the phrase I heard you use earlier, was taking your business to the next level.
Right.
And so I get this a lot from our clients that say, well, I want my business to go to the next level, but I don't know what that looks like. Is that something you can help them with, help them figure out what that might look like, what it might include? Talk a little bit about that.
That's one of the things that we talk about during what I call the marketing guide conversation. So we talk about what it is you really want. Like, what do you want your business to look like? What do you want it to do? Where do you want it to go? How much money do you want it to make? And kind of really deep dive into what it is, what their goals are. That helps us then, if we know they want their business to be, you know, 7 figures or, you know, whatever, it helps us to then develop a course or a series of courses that can help them get there. Then again, some people come to us and they may want to hit 7 figures, but they want to do it by individual one-on-one kind of, or mastermind groups kind of things. And so we work out that process as well. It really depends on the client and what they want their business to look like.
Very good. Yeah, it all depends on where they want to go. That's right.
Yeah, it all depends on the amount they want to go and how much time daily that they want to commit to it. You know, I've had therapists come to me that are tired of being hourly therapists sitting, you know, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and they want to remove themselves and become more location independent. And so we talk about how that works. How, you know, how does that look? What does that look like? You know, how can you develop maybe a program or a course or even lean more towards coaching and less therapy kind of thing. And, you know, kind of figure out how to make that happen for them.
So now, and you don't have to give me details or pricing in specifics. If can you give us, though, a price range as to what perhaps your entry level pricing might be? Are you hourly? Do people buy programs and packages? Do they find themselves to fit into? Tell us a little bit about that.
So we customize every package to our clients. We do not work hourly. We actually work on flat rate project rates. So it really depends on the client, but it can range anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000. And it just depends on the depth and breadth of what they want done.
Right. Awesome. So one of the things that we will do tomorrow, everyone will receive a recording of today's phone call. And if there's any offer that you would like to include, a free conversation, any of that information, we'll be sure and include that in that email that goes out to all of our listeners for tomorrow, as well as links on how to get in touch with you directly.
Awesome.
So are there any questions that, it's kind of like when I talk with an insurance agent or a financial advisor, I'm not sure what questions to ask. Are there any questions that I've not asked that you typically get asked? Or any information that we forgot to cover?
So I think we've covered a lot of what it is that we do. I think the most important thing that people need to understand when they come to me is who they want to talk to. Like, that is the most important thing. If you don't know who your target market is, if you don't know who your audience is, then it's very difficult to create a marketing strategy for you. So you have to understand who it is you're talking to in order for us to develop a marketing strategy. Now, you don't have to know every detail that we're going to ask you. I have a form that's, lots of questions long that kind of helps you think about different things in your business in a way that maybe you didn't think about before. But you do have to have an idea of who it is. And it would also be good if you have an idea of what it is that you want to teach them, or what service you want to provide, because you don't have to build a course if you're not ready to build a course. Maybe it's a service that you're ready to market to more than just the people that are referred to you.
No, that's awesome. So thank you so much for being here today. I greatly appreciate your time, taking this time out of your day. And I do want to remind everybody again that there will be an email that comes out tomorrow that has the link to today's recording in case you have missed it or want to share it with someone else. It will have Jennifer's information and how to get hold of her. And as a reminder, we will not have a lunch and learn in July. We're taking July off, not the entire month, but we're taking that day off. And but we will be back on August 22nd. If you want to tune in to our monthly lunch and learn at that point. Thank you everyone for being here, and Jennifer will be in touch.
Thank you. It was great talking to you.
Thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.